Mr. Speaker, I stand to condole with the family of the departed members of Parliament, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am known to Honorable Injendi Malulu, Mr. Speaker. We came in the 11th Parliament, I think, together to this Parliament, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, he was a very dedicated servant of the people and somebody who had spent most of his time in his constituency, Mr. Speaker. He was rarely in Nairobi, Mr. Speaker. Any time he had in his hand, Mr. Speaker, the member spent with his constituents, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker is a man who knew what he was doing. Because, Mr. Speaker, the love Honorable Injendi Mululu had for his constituents, Mr. Speaker, was immeasurable. I remember during the elections, Mr. Speaker, we were campaigning and we had a candidate as a party against him, Mr. Speaker. But when we visited the constituency, we were told categorically that the most popular person in this constituency is Malulu Injendi, Mr. Speaker, as an individual. You know, on whichever party he contests. That is the information we were given on the ground. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask God to stand with his people, Mr. Speaker, at this trying moment. And Honorable Cheptumo, Mr. Speaker, also, we were together with him in this house. He was a very dedicated servant, Mr. Speaker, of the people. He was in the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, and we benefited as a house, Mr. Speaker, immensely from his knowledge of the Constitution and the law, Mr. Speaker. I served with him in Parliament, I served with him in the House Business Committee, and Mr. Speaker, those are servants of people who have left us, Mr. Speaker, at a time when Kenyans really require their service, Mr. Speaker. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I condole with the family, and may God rest their souls in peace, Mr. Speaker.
Melly.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you. Honorable Speaker, I want to take this time to condole with the family of our two honorable colleagues, Honorable Cheptumo and Honorable Moses Malulu Injendi. Honorable Speaker, we came to this house with Honorable Malulu Injendi in 2013, and as my colleagues have said, he was a very humble, very diligent, very honest, very religious, and a good educationist. I served with him in the 11th Parliament as a member of the Committee of Education, where we were led ably by Honorable Sabina Chege. During that time, Honorable Malulu Injendi gave us his mind on educational issues, ranging from the primary school education all the way to university. Honorable Malulu Injendi, Honorable Speaker and members, he was a man who actually loved his constituents a lot. He didn't fail to go to his constituency every weekend, every month. And at all times, he served these people with a lot of diligence and integrity. He was a man who really built many schools, many colleges, and many institutions in his place. Honorable Cheptumo is a senior member in this house. He mentored us. We found him. He was a member of Baringo North from 2007 all the way to 2013 when he came in. As young legislators, Cheptumo took us with a lot of humility and taught us parliamentary legislative processes. As a member of the delegated committee and also as a member of several other committees, we learned a lot from the two members. May the good Lord rest their souls in eternal peace. Asante sana. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to pay tribute to the Honorable Malulu Injendi, Moses MP Malava, Kakamega County, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Malulu has been a good friend, very close and a relative, Mr. Speaker, a man of humility, down to earth, Mr. Speaker. Being a relative, Mr. Speaker, despite the age group, Mr. Speaker, Malulu has always called me uncle since he's married from my clan, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I and Mr. Malulu in political trajectory took the same path in 2017, Mr. Speaker, when we found ourselves in corridors of justice, Mr. Speaker, defending election petitions, Mr. Speaker, in the High Court in Kakamega. Despite that, we also won, both of us. And Mr. Speaker, at 2022, Mr. Speaker, we are re-elected the third time, Mr. Speaker, with the Malulu Injendi. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Malulu Injendi, the MP Malava, has transformed education in Malava, both infrastructure and learning, Mr. Speaker, in Malava constituency. Mr. Speaker, I wish to take this chance, Mr. Speaker, on my own behalf and on behalf of people of Ikolomani and Kakamega County, to eulogize with the family and pass my condolences to the people of Kakamega for losing such a leader, Malava constituency. Mr. Speaker, also losing a committed leader who has transformed and left a legacy in the Malava constituency, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've had the privilege of interacting with Mr. and Ms. Cheptumo as legal practitioners long before he joined politics, Mr. Speaker. And I found him as a brilliant legal practitioner who was down to earth. I also had the privilege of being with him in Parliament from 2007 as a representative of the people of Baringo North, and then later on, right now, he was serving as a senator. Mr. Speaker, death is a must. We as a Muslim, we always say, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Every soul shall test death. It's a must. It's only the owner who gives and who knows when to take away. And therefore, all of us must be ready to submit to the will of God when we live, so that when we go down, we will be welcomed in the bounties of heaven, Mr. Speaker. I know Mr. Cheptumo will be missed by many friends. Mr. Speaker, I have also interacted with Mr. Injendi and found him a man who was carrying the rosary. In my culture, Mr. Speaker, when you see a man or a woman of God always blessed with a rosary, it's a sign of forgiveness. It's a sign of atonement. It's a sign of asking, look, you always appreciate the omnipresence of God around you. And I know truly in Mr. Injendi and Mr. Cheptumo, the people they have represented will greatly miss them. But Mr. Speaker, the only thing that we can do, I want to urge you, as our head here, to give them a dignified and decent send-off. That is the only way we can also remain true to the service they have offered to their respective electorate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Sergeant, can you check the system is malfunctioning? Sabina Chege.